Avoid niggas who are friends with people who don't fuck with you. Talking about some I'm neutral. I fuck with both of y'all. That's not called being neutral. That's called being fake. If you comfortable being around people who don't like me, you're not on my side. You the back door. Real friends don't stay close to people who don't like you. I'm going against anything that don't like you if I fuck with you. When a person don't like you, they team up with other people that don't like you either. Now it's a whole bunch of people that don't like you. But here's the thing. Those people don't even like each other. They're just gathered around because of you. See how powerful you are? When the hate don't work, they start telling lies. It's crazy how people need zero proof to believe a lie, but endless amounts of proof to believe a truth. Y'all are brainwashed, but you can't change nobody's perception of you. People see you that way because they want to see you that way. If you feed a cat on the street and you're doing it out of kindness, a hater gonna say you was just doing it because you wanted to get fat so that you could eat it. Stop going above and beyond to try and prove to people that you a good person. They know you a good person. They just don't care. They'll even wait for you to make a mistake so you could prove them.
All right, so first and foremost, before I get started, I'm going to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors and respect to the apostles and elders at GMS who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect and the 1/3. Teaching with sincerity and charity. I'm the brother Barak. Lord willing, this will be an edifying lesson. And this lesson is going to be about, stay away from fake people, right? Stay away from fake friends. And, the main precept of this lesson is Amos 3:3. And it says, can two walk together except they be agreed, right? And, a lot of people want to misinterpret this verse, but, it means what it says, right? Can two walk together except they be agreed, right? So you cannot be friends with a bunch of people that don't agree with what you follow, right? These people, man, they might pretend like they're sincere. They might pretend to agree with what you believe in, but at the end of the day, these people are far from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? They might even do these things where they pretend to be your friend just so they want something from you, right? They might want a ride. They might want some money. They might want some food, and then they revert back to being their old self, right? But stay away from fake people. And the guy in the video, he said basically what he said. If you're friends with somebody that's not my friend, well, we're not friends either, right? And that's because what we're not supposed to be friends with the enemy, right? You friends with all these different spirited people, these demons, that makes you a demon, man, right? Let's get some precepts for that. Book of Proverbs 13:20, and it says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm, right? These people got that crab in the bucket mentality, Salakia. These people, man, they pretend like they they pretend like they really care about you, right? But when you're actually doing good for yourself, when you start gaining wisdom, knowledge, understanding, they start all of a sudden acting different. They start hating on you. They start saying, you need to slow down, bro. You need to you need to chill out, dude. It's not that deep, dude, right? But these people got that crab in the bucket mentality. They secretly hate you, right? And we're not supposed to be friends with this world, These people, they all might like each other, but when you come along, they start acting weird. They start saying things about you. They start doing disrespectful things behind your back, right? All their jokes might make sense, right? But to you, it's not even funny. That's because we're not like this world, We don't even follow the same, we're not even on the same spirit as these people, right? And these people, they hate us because they're salty that we're going to get that blessing, right? The scriptures say, ye are gods, among earth, right? Lowercase Gods, right? So these people are heathens, they're not going to get that new body, Lord willing, we make it to that point, right? So the most they're going to do is what? They're going to hate on you, right? It says, what is the crab in the bucket mentality? It says the crab in the bucket mentality describes how individuals in a group pull down anyone who tries to succeed or escape, stemming from jealousy, insecurity, or a zero-sum mindset where one person's gain is seen as another's loss, right? These people, man, why they feel that way, because they're destined for destruction, right? And a lot of these people, they're gonna go and get that chip in the final day, the hour of temptation, right? So we don't even give a fuck about these people. You have to completely separate yourself from them. It don't matter if they read the Bible. It don't matter, if they go to church. It don't matter if they know Paleo Hebrew. If the Lord is not dealing with them, if they're not the elect, and if they don't have this, the Lord didn't give them the ability to receive this truth, fuck them. It doesn't matter what the fuck they do, man. You gotta stay the fuck away from these people, man. They are demons, and you get that feeling sometimes. You might talk to somebody and then you speak to them for 30 minutes, an hour, and all of a sudden it feels like, damn, I wasted my time with this person. I almost feel like they're draining you of your energy. You just can't really explain it, right? Those are demons, man. These are demonic ass people, right? This book of Romans 8:16, it says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? So the Spirit, we're gonna be in the same spirit as these people, right? We're not gonna be in disagreement, right? If we're on the same doctrine, we're not gonna be in, we're not gonna be hating on each other, right? Because at the end of the day, we're fighting for that same penny, right? We're trying to get the fuck out of this place, right? Read it again. It says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. These people don't got the Spirit of the Lord on them. They just want to talk about, Iron Man 3 and fucking the NFL and NASCAR, right? They want to talk about sports. They want to talk about, Lil Uzi and Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber. These people don't give a fuck about the Lord, man. All that other stuff is folly, right? It says, this is a secret behind the people of success of many people nowadays. Licking shoes gets you far in life, right? And it's not the only thing these people do, man. Well, they're kissing ass, they're sucking dick, right? They're doing a lot of gay rituals, gay things, gay favors, right? Working overtime and overtime above the overtime, right? Just to get that, that dollar, that extra, $1, $2, $3 raise, right? That's the spirit these people on, right? But these people, choose to invest all their time into their boss, right? Their woman. These people don't give a shit about the Lord. They don't care about doing the work of the Lord, right? That's what happens. A lot of these people, you see them, they're in this truth. They're trying to they're doing videos, they're feeding the sheep, and then they get a woman, and what happens? They go completely silent. They don't even care. They stop doing the work. They put the plow down, and that's because They were just in here. They were just, friends for their own occasion, right? And I'm going to bring that out. It says right here in Ecclesiasticus 6 and 8, for some man is a friend for his own occasion and will not abide in the day of thy trouble, right? So these people, man, they're all cool with you when they have everything, when they're using you, doing whatever with you. Yeah, we're bros. He's like a brother to me. He's like family to me. What happens when all shit hits the fan? All hell breaks loose. These people ain't gonna give a fuck about you, right? And only people who are gonna, be sincere are what the men of the Lord, right? The elect, right? And it says right here in the book of Matthew 12 and 48, it says, but he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand towards the disciple and said, behold, my mother and my brethren, for whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. Right? So who is the true family? Who is our brethren? It is the men feeding the sheep of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Right? The people who are sincere, pushing this work with sincerity and charity. And we say that because we're not making any money off of this, right? We're not here to get subscribers, get views, right? We're only here to feed the sheep, right? There's the book of Matthew 15 and 8, and it says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules, right? And I got, I was speaking to a brother not that long ago. He said, he wanted to check up on a friend. Something told him to check up on a friend, but this friend he was checking up on, this man is not even in the truth. This man, he only appears like he's in the truth, right? He's not really sincere. He calls on different names. We believe in a different doctrine. And this man is scoffing, the elders, apostles at GMS, right? This man is a complete demon. He's a complete scoffer. And, my friend said, he wanted to check up on him, right? And, you don't need to do that. You don't need to check up on these people. These people are not your friend. Those are demons, monitoring, wandering ass, spirited ass people. Right, people that just many men crept in unawares. You know what I'm saying. These are these types of these types of people, man. They whatever you want to call them, right? You don't even bother, talking to these people, right? You might have a feeling I haven't spoken to this guy in a long time. I need to see how he's doing. I need to, I hope he's okay. No, fuck those people, man. Because there's a reason the Lord, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua, he took those people away from you, and you want to go back to talking to them. I'm going to read it again. It says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules, right? These people, they do everything. They appear to do everything, right? They make it seem like they're following all the laws. They're keeping all the holidays, right? But at the end of the day, the Lord can tell whether these people are sincere or not, right? So a lot of people were are coming to this thing just to get, just to get some woman, get some, take advantage of good people, take advantage of, people and not have to work, right? There's plenty of people like that. So, don't even worry about these wicked ass people, man, right? This is the book of Matthew 22 and 14. It says, for many are called, but few are chosen. right? At the end of the day, man, you're going to, many people are called to do this work, but, they don't, a lot of them, they fall out, right? A lot of them are, their fallouts, they, get lazy, become sluggards, become, they almost say, they say they wasted their time, say what's the point, all that, right? And you want to do these, you go ahead, fall out, man. At the end of the day, it's the Lord who predestines people, right? It sounds like a harsh thing to say, but no, it's true, right? At the end of the day, it's the Lord who chooses people who's gonna endure till the end, right? And I'm gonna read one final verse. It says, it's Romans 11:7. It says, "What then? Israel had not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election had obtained it, and the rest were blinded." Right? So what? The election obtained this truth, right? Well, not just not your average Joe with a pack of beer, right? That's sitting on his front porch. Not some fucking guy from school, right? What the election have obtained it, right? But the rest were blinded, meaning what they were not given this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? And that means these people are gonna scoff at you. They're gonna make fun of you for things that you say that because it's out of their understanding, right? And that goes for just people. They're not gonna be your friend. They might be friends with people that don't like you, right? And that's okay, man. Because they're wicked ass people, right? And these people are gonna get destroyed by that nuclear fire, which is gonna be the judgment of Babylon, aka America, right? Only a few people are gonna get beamed out of this place, man. We're gonna get delivered, right? And if you don't believe that, man, fuck you, right? If you don't believe we're gonna get salvation through these chariots, right? We're gonna get saved out of this nuclear fire, then you can go fuck yourself, right? Because you're just another scoffer, right? And with that being said, I'm gonna give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors and respect to my apostles and elders at GMS who taught me this truth. Salutations to the Lord's elect and the 1/3. Shalom.